So today we're going to be installing TerraNavix Guidance System on this Claas Arion, brand new 430 model. Guys are just setting up at the moment. We're just looking at it. As with all new tractors, we don't want to drill too many holes or make too much of a disturbance. We want to make the setup and installation look as if it's from the factory. So we've removed the bolts from this cover here. We're going to use those pre-drilled holes to install the holder for the monitor. Next thing we do is take the steering wheel off, which will be replaced by the TerraNavix steering wheel with the electric drive. So we've used the two existing holes. We've got this little bit of bar here. We're using the holes, we're going to bolt that on there, and then we're going to bolt on this ram holder, which the monitor will go onto. The next thing we have to work out is how to fix this clamp. This is what the electric motor will be held onto to stop it turning independently from the wheel. This comes standard with the pack. We're looking at the setup here. It looks a bit complicated. We might have to do something custom. This customer is using RTK correctional services. So we're going to install a prepaid SIM card for data. Next we're going to put the GNS receiver on the roof. The receiver comes with this base stand, which has got a magnet on. You must pay attention that the arrow is facing forward, and we mount it onto this plate. The plate has then got a 3M adhesive, and we're going to place it directly in the middle of the tractor on the roof. So the antenna didn't stick very well to the front of the cabin, mainly because the roof is not straight. There's a gap and the surface isn't very good for sticking to, so we've taken it off, put some double-sided tape on the base again, and I'm going to try fitting it to the back. Of course, you can always attach the metal plate to the roof with self-tapping screws and drill into it. Although this is a new tractor, and we try not to drill into any part of it if possible. So we put some new strips on, double-sided tape, heated it up with the lighter, and then we're going to fix it probably on the back panel here, making sure it's facing forward, the arrow is facing forward. See how that glues. See if it sticks well enough. Yeah, much better. The antenna comes with a 5-meter cable, which we're going to run across the roof, down the front of the windscreen and up through the sort of cable porthole underneath the cabin, which I'll show you now. Then antenna cable will come down the front, and then we remove this little cap here from this porthole, and all the cables, the antenna, the power, the communications cables will run underneath the tractor into the cabin through this hole. So here's laid out the harness here to show you simple terms what everything does. So this plugs into the back of the monitor, moving around this way. This is the autopilot start-stop button. So on the monitor you can also press the button to start-stop, but we usually put this a little bit closer to the driver so you can start. So this turns on and off the actual guidance steering system. Moving around here, this is the input to the gyroscope. This just plugs into the actual steering wheel, electric steering wheel itself. This plugs into the battery, tractor battery for power. And then onto this side here, this is for a secondary monitor for a seeder or a planter or a sprayer. So this allows that system to piggyback off the GPS from this system, and we can plug into a secondary monitor. And this is a terminator for terminating the circuit. So the guidance system kit is universal. The thing that changes for each kit is this adapter, which is what fits onto the steering wheel column and is then fitted onto the TerraNavix steering wheel. So this one is 15.5 1.7 millimeter diameter, 36 splint, slightly tapered. That fits into the back of the steering wheel, which is then clamped onto the steering column. So this is what the finished product looks like here for the mount. So we use the ram mount, it's mounted onto the metal bar as I showed you earlier, and then the monitor is then attached on top of that. Here's a view of the kit for fitting, attaching the steering wheel to the steering column. So this is what comes in the kit. So as you can see, you've got adjustment here. The standard length is this height. We've got an extension here. We've got another extension if it's needed, and then you've got some regulation here to slide in and out, and some adaptation. So the idea is to fix it to the steering column, but you've got plenty of play in all directions to make it fit. Sometimes it requires some extra work, which I think this tractor might do, so I'll show you that. Sometimes the standard clamp for the steering wheel column doesn't work, so we have to be a little bit creative, which is why we've got some of these bits of metal to be able to attach to the steering wheel columns if the normal kit doesn't quite fit. So the standard fitting, the standard clamp for the steering wheel wouldn't fit on this tractor, so we had to make our own, which is slightly wider. We've taken the adapter here, cut off this bit here, and we're going to go and now weld this onto here to make it fit nicely. We don't obviously want to take the steering wheel apart, and it's new with the plastic parts, so this is a good solution. The next thing we're going to be installing is the gyroscope. This provides the system with the data for the X and the Y axes, for tilt and for roll. It comes with this bracket to mount somewhere in the cab, but we found by removing this panel we can put it in there. It's very important that the gyroscope is mounted absolutely flat, parallel with the ground, and with the Y edge facing forward, direction of travel, which means the port here is to the right of the right hand side as the driver sits. So we found by just sort of drilling a hole here, and it only needs one bolt to mount it in place, and so it's absolutely flat facing forward and level, parallel with the ground. It can also be taped using double-sided tape, but bolting it on here, one bolt, and covering it up is perfect. The next thing we're going to mount is this start-stop button for the guidance system. So there's also a button on the screen, but it's quite far to reach for the driver. So we're going to mount this button inside this panel on one of these spare switches. We'll drill a hole here and mount the switch onto it. And then I've taken the panel off here, and all the cabling will be tucked neatly inside. So now you can see we've finished adapting, welding and painted up the new bracket, which we put behind the steering wheel here. Now we're going to tighten it all up, put the bolts back in, and mount the steering wheel to the bracket. So we've got the mount tightened up. We put on the adapter onto the back of the steering wheel. We realised we needed to use this adapter to make it longer, but it's a little bit too long. So we're going to put it on here and measure it, and line it up just to the side. So pushing it all the way in, you can see it's a little bit too long. We need to cut it. We decided to use this empty space to put the switch instead of using this place in case the tractor driver, the owner, wants to put some auxiliary switches in there later. We put a small rubber O-ring around as a washer. We put the panel back here for the gyroscope. We've got the cable installed here to plug into the steering wheel. All the cables we've wrapped, put inside here, and it goes underneath the floor. And you can see we've tied all these up, and then the switch and the gyroscope, they run underneath the floor here. So all the cables now are inside the cabin, and Sasha down there is wiring up the plus and minus power cables to the battery. So instead of cutting this adapter shorter. We've just taken the smaller adapter, which is also in the kit, and added a nut onto it for adjustment, which will give us pretty much the same length we need to make it fit. Okay, we're now putting the steering wheel back onto this spline. For some tractors, smaller tractors, you'll be able to do it without removing the cover here, but on bigger tractors, especially big John Deere, Case, New Holland, it won't fit in there, so we have to remove it. And then now you can fit the socket head easily inside there. That's for 27mm, 30mm for the bigger tractors. You need to remove that to get it to fit properly. Okay, so now we're putting everything back together again. Okay. Easier to put on this side first. Not all tractors have that spring. Okay, so now it's fully all the way on, and you can see we've got some adjustment here to bring it tighter. Put that washer back inside there. Then we've got the nut. Then we screw it up there. Tighten her up. When you're lining it back up, try and get this plate as close as possible to the steering wheel rather than out here. So you can see we've lined it up just a few millimeters from the bottom. Then we tighten up these hex bolts first, and then you see we've got some play, and we can move this closer and we'll tighten this up second. If you tighten up this part first, then you won't be able to reach. It'll be much harder to reach these hex screws to tighten up. When you're tightening up the adjustment, leave this bolt till last. So you'll first of all put it into place and just put the bolt in loosely. Then secondly, tighten this piece up till it becomes flush. You want to make sure that it's not pulling the steering wheel when you tighten it up. And then lastly, when it's all in place and the counter nut is also back and tight in place, so this is tight, then we finish it off by tightening up that hex bolt at the back. Once everything's tightened up, turn on the tractor, move the steering wheel. What we're looking for that this part and this part, if they move together. So we can see here the movement is kind of uniform, so it's okay, it's well mounted, and it's good to go. When plugging in the sockets for the wheel, notice here that there's a notch. The notch goes on the outside, so it goes like that way around.